Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mr. Miller, working with Mr. Patel, Mr. Inch. I'll be doing the 1.4 notes here for you. So, at the end of this section, we're breaking it into 2 days worth. You should be able to solve absolute value equations. My penmanship is horrible, so let me sneak this one in here. Solve absolute value equations, and identify special solutions of absolute value equations there. So that is what we're going to be working on here today. For your warm-up here, actually we'll take a picture of these, but working on our past lessons. So you have here an a that is minus 12, and we want to find minus a and our absolute value of a. So basically what we're asking you to do here is take this value of minus 12 and substitute it into both of the a's there. Once you have that, one second. All right, so we're plugging that minus 12 into both of them. So here you'll get a minus sign in front and a minus 12, which that would be minus and a minus turns those both into positive. So our first answer for that is a positive 12. And then the absolute value. That means the distance from 0. So distance from 0 is distance is always measured as a positive. So we will get 12. So both answers using a minus a and the absolute value of a give us an answer of 12 there. Again, doing a little substitution. So here we have an absolute value. So practicing that absolute value when x is minus 3. Again, you're just taking the minus 3 and substituting it in. And we have there minus 3. And the absolute value, subtract 2. And we're trying to figure out what that comes out to be. Again, this is the distance. So if it's a minus, you can always think of it this way. It's always going to be a positive answer here. So we get a positive 3. So that changes to 3 minus 2, which is an answer of 1. So when x is minus 3, we get an answer of 1. All right. So for this next question, story problem, using our absolute values here, it says the change in elevation as a diver explored a reef was a negative 0.5 feet, 1.5 feet, a negative 2.5 feet, and 2.25 feet. Which change in elevation had the greatest absolute value? So there again, we're putting all of these in absolute values, just to save some time from writing. So remember, those are all going to become positives. So we get an answer of 0.5. We get an answer of 1.5. We're going to get an answer of 2.5 and an answer of 2.25 after we take the absolute values of that. Which one is the greatest? Which one is the furthest from 0? And that is our 2.5. So 2.5 was the greatest change in elevation for that answer. On your notes already here, let's slide this over so we can see it. You should have here solving an absolute value equation. So the equation here, once you get it down to ax plus b inside our absolute values, and that equals c, we know the C has to be greater than or equal to 0. All right, that's very important when we get into the second set of notes here, along with this one, but second set as well. So that is equivalent to breaking down the statement here. AX plus B is going to equal C. So again, once you get it to this form where you have only absolute values on the left side and some number on the right that is positive or above 0, we break it down to AX plus B equals C, or AX plus B equals that minus C. And that's what we're going to be practicing here with our next few questions. So solving very easy ones. We already had a couple ones here like this. First one is we're down to the absolute values already, equal a number, so nothing to manipulate here. So it's simply x equals the 9 that was there, or x equals the minus 9. And both of those work. For our next equation here, we have r minus 7 is equal to 9. Again, we're down to our format here for our absolute value equation. So there is nothing that we need to take care of outside of these absolute values. That would have to be done first. So we can jump right into our OR statement. So we have r minus 7 is going to equal 9, or we're going to have r minus 7 equals a negative 9. Again, it's always the C part, the part of the equation on the right side that you're changing to a positive or a negative. We're looking at both of those. Then we would solve both of these equations. So I need to add 7 to both sides. So I'm left with r equals 16, or, again, adding 7 to both sides, r equals minus 2. Now, we want to check to make sure that both of these answers work. All right, in algebra, we should be checking our answers. And as we move on in this section, you'll see that some answers are actually impossible. They don't work. So you do have to be looking for this, or at least going through the check and seeing that they do make sense. So plugging our answer back in and just color coordinating this. So I think my answer is 16 first. We got to check both of them, but one at a time. So we have 16 minus our 7 equals our 9. We do our math here, 16 minus 7. So that does come out to the absolute value of 9. And the absolute value of 9 is 9. So is 16 a correct answer? Yes, it is. We continue to do that with the second one now. Plugging it in, minus 2 minus 7. Does that equal a 9 answer? Because again, you're plugging it back into the original. Don't plug it back into the one that you manipulated to start solving it. It's back into the original. This comes out to minus 9 inside the absolute values equals 9. And we know once we take that outside the absolute values, we get 9 equals 9. So my second one is correct. I'm going to leave this one for you to do on your own here, because it's almost identical to this problem. And we'll move down to multiple step one. So moving on to here, we have 2s plus 4.1 equals 18.9. So again, like I mentioned before, we have to get it to our form where the absolute values are all that is left on the left side. All right. So we need to subtract the 4.1 first. So subtract 4.1, subtract 4.1. We're left with 2 at the absolute value of s. Comes out to 14.8. Again, we do not have s by itself yet, so we need to get it by itself. There is multiplication between 2 and the absolute value. So to get rid of multiplication, we're going to divide, and we get the absolute value of s comes out to 7.4. This is where we're still solving for our absolute value of s. So again, we break it down to, just like we did in the first one here, when you have the absolute value of s, that becomes s is going to equal 7.4, or s is going to equal a minus 7.4. And again, both of these are going to work because it's going into just an s by itself. All right, where in our equation here we might see some problems because we're subtracting. We have other things inside the absolute value, so I might see some trouble moving forward. This one, the s is all by itself in the absolute value, so we know it's going to turn into a positive 7.4, and then just do your mental check here. 7.4 times 2 is 14.8. 14.8 is added to 4.1, which gives us 18.9. So if you can mentally check these, do it that way. If you need to write it out, please write it out. So for example, my checkpoint would look like this. I want to take 2, it's getting multiplied by 7.4 because I know both of these are going to turn into a positive 7.4 plus 4.1 equals 18.9. And again, we get 14.4 plus 4.1, which is 18.9. And yes, both of our answers are 100% correct. Moving on to the last one that we're going to do together on the front page. I'm going to let you do this last one here, the 3, 4x plus 2 minus 7 equals 11 absolute value question by yourselves. But I'm going to give myself a little bit more room here. So I'm going to write that out on just white paper. And some of you doing these at home on just the white paper and you didn't print out the notes, this is where it like pays off a little bit. So you have lots of room to show your work. And I kind of find that I need a little bit more room to show my work. So again, solving for t, which is in the absolute value. Goal is we have to get the absolute value by itself first. So we need to add 5. We do our PEMDAS backwards, so anything that's added or subtracted to it has to get rid of first, then the multiplication again. So add 5, add 5. So we have 4 absolute value of t plus 9. All that equals, adding 5 to that is 24. Next, we have multiplication of the 4, so we're going to divide by 4. And we get the absolute value of t plus 9 equals 4 goes into 24 6 times. We are now to our stage where we have the absolute value by itself. So we now have our 2 equations that we need to set up. T plus 9, we drop the absolute values, equals 6. Or t plus 9 equals minus 6. As we're continuing this, we're going to subtract 9 from both sides in both equations. So I'm just going to do it all at the same time. Minus 9, minus 9, minus 9, minus 9. again, I like to throw in these just so we don't get confused. So t comes out to equal a minus 3, or t comes out to equal a negative 15. Again, we want to make sure that both of these are correct answers. In algebra, you can check your answers most times, if not all times. So we want to throw these back in to the original equations. So again, back up here into this one. So I have 4 times, throw that minus 3 in there, plus 9, minus 5 equals 19. I'm going to go ahead and throw it in the other one as well. 4 minus 15 plus my 9 minus 5 again comes out to 19. So these should look identical except for our two t's are different. So minus 15 here and minus 3 there. And then we go through and we solve it to make sure we get 19 equals 19 for both of these. So we're going to add 5. 4 minus 3 plus 9. And I probably could have cleaned that up. Also, there's a couple different ways you can go through this. This just happens to be the way I'm going through it. So I'm going to get rid of my multiplication. So divide by 4. And we get the absolute value of minus 3 plus 9. Comes out to 6. And then just cleaning it up, minus 3 and 9 is 6. And the absolute value of 6 equals 6. So that is correct. If you did not like that version, oops, let me scroll that down, sorry. So again, I just divided by 4 on both sides. So I got rid of my 4's here. And we get minus 3 plus 9 equals 6. And then the absolute value of 6 is 6. So answer is correct. If you did not like that version, again, you could try to treat this like parentheses, and you could do this first, clean it up this way. So 4 absolute value, this comes out to a minus 6, excuse me. Minus 5 more equals 19. Then you could take care of your absolute values here. So this is going to turn out to be 4 times 6 minus 5. And then we clean it up one more time. 24 minus 5 equals 19. And 19 equals 19. If you did something wrong, you will not get the 19 equals the 19 or the 6 equals the 6 here. You will get, it'll say 3 equals 7 or 5 equals 2, which makes no sense, and that means that it is wrong. So in this case, both of our answers, the t minus equals minus 3 and the t equals minus 15, are both 100% correct. That wraps up the first day here. Again, you are working on that question right there, and I will have those answers posted for you later.